Hi, I'm Stacey Abrams. As many tune in after my State of the Union response, I wanted to take a moment to speak about recently proposed legislation that supports Americans with disabilities, a community in my heart and on my agenda. Nearly 30 years ago, the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed into law by President George H.W. Bush. The ADA was a giant step forward for equal rights, but the struggle was far from over. Lois Curtis, a Georgia woman with a disability, went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court in 1999 to defend her rights under the ADA. She won her case, and during Black History Month, we celebrate her contribution that helped millions of Americans experience inclusion in the face of isolation. Leaders in both parties are continuing that fight today, working to help pass the Disability Integration Act. This bill will help Americans with disabilities receive long-term services in their homes or communities, rather than having to move to institutions to get the care they need. Congress should pass this bill right away. But instead of advocating for people with disabilities, the President's administration has sought to repeal the Affordable Care Act and take away important protections that Americans with disabilities need. Disability advocates were instrumental in preserving the ACA, but this community continues to be under attack as the administration undermines federal protections and rolls back rules that help students with special needs. Here in Georgia, we have seen Republican leaders attempt to use the Americans with Disabilities Act as a weapon to close polling locations, rather than as a mandate to ensure each voting location allows all of our eligible voters access to have their voices heard. We cannot allow these pitiful attempts to pit voters against the disability community, because that's a cynical ploy, and it's a politics that I reject, because we must all rise together. As I did in my campaign, I will continue to be an advocate for people with disabilities, both as a private citizen and in my next steps, whatever those may be. Thank you for staying in the fight.